Today we have Warinda Harris from Central Texas Interfaith to talk to us about green space equity in Texas. So we're very excited to have her join us today. And thank you for doing this for us, Warinda. Um, Shout out to Jasmine Anderson. She is helping us with tech assistance today. So thank you, Yasmin. Uh, Automated closed captioning is available if anybody needs that. To access, just click the Show Caption CC button on the Zoom toolbar, and then you'll get the live transcript option. Again, we are being recorded. We have a small number today, so it doesn't, if you want to leave your camera on, you can, or not. It doesn't. It's all good either way today with this number. I will monitor the chat for questions, and we will also have a time for questions at the end as well. So about 10 minutes or so at the end for any questions. But feel free to throw them in the chat section as well. I will share the link today and give us about a week or so. So that will go back out to all of you and everyone who registered. If you do need a certificate, just shoot Sarah an email and she will take care of that for you. We can do CCU hours or just regular certificates, whatever you need there. Let's see. At this time, I will do a land acknowledgement. TCINN is headquartered in Austin, Texas, and as such, we are on the ancestral land and unceded land of the Tonkawa, Comanche, and Sana people. Our ongoing colonial presence on indigenous lands compels us to act now to counter the effects of colonization. The work we do through TCINN is one small step towards that effort. And I will place more about land acknowledgements and these particular people in the chat in just a moment here. Thank you again for joining us today. And Warinda, I will hand it over to you.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Beth. And good to see you guys. Thank you very much to the Texas Children in Nature Network for inviting our participation today. Hi, everyone. My name is Warinda Harris, and I'm an organizer with Central Texas Interfaith, or CTI, formerly Austin Interfaith. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and hope you, if you could just give me a thumbs up when you can see my screen. Give me just a moment here. And also, it's raining pretty heavily where I am, so I'm hoping that there's no issue in the background. Can you guys hear me clearly? Okay. And can you see my screen now? Perfect. Perfect. Well, so as I said, we are Central Texas Interfaith, and we are a nonpartisan, multi-ethnic, multi-issue organization of over 50 institutions across the 10-county Central Texas area. Founded in East Austin by its oldest institutions of color, we are a broad-based organization that has created systemic change for almost 40 years through institutional organizing. So we work through institutions and teach members of those institutions to engage in the democratic process. We are in the community and of the community, and we advocate on the issues brought forth by the community. Our name notwithstanding, we are not a religious organization. We began in East Austin in some of the older churches, Black and Latino churches, and so that is how we began as Austin Interfaith. We've since become Central Texas Interfaith, and again, we're not religious. We are strictly nonpartisan, but we are political. We don't endorse candidates. Instead, we endorse an agenda of issues, and we ask our local, state, and national leaders to sign on to those issues. These are the issues that matter to our leaders, so they're the issues that we advocate on for at all levels of government. So what does that look like for us on the ground? We work in communities that are accustomed to having negative experiences with power. They've seen it used against them, and they have felt helpless. And over the years, and particularly in this work in green spaces now, we focus on helping our community members develop a new relationship with power. They recognize that it does not have to be negative and it doesn't have to be one-sided. So we're intentional about teaching this, and we provide a space in which our neighbors can discover their own voices and use them. They meet power with their own power. We provide opportunities for our member institutions to negotiate effectively through the political process with our local leaders around issues of common concern. So that's who we are, and that's what we've done. But several years ago, we embarked on something new for us. We entered the conversation around green spaces, green space equity, and we've brought community with us into that conversation. As I mentioned, we are a power building organization. And so we know community and we know how to teach power and develop leaders, but we had not been in discussions around green space in the Austin area. It became clear to us during the pandemic that this was a mistake, that this is something that we should have been involved in sooner. We have leaders from all over the area, but we found that our folks in East and South Austin were experiencing the pandemic differently from their wealthier West Side neighbors. Many of them were considered essential employees, people who could not work from home. So they were dying at a higher rate, and they were struggling with how not to bring COVID into their homes and endangering their families. They were not able to distance outside with their families in the same way that some of their neighbors could at local parks, because the green spaces in their area they felt did not have the infrastructure to support that. So our leaders began to see this as an equity issue and began to explore how to engage around it. In 2022, CTI became a part of the People, Parks, and Power cohort with the Prevention Institute. Through a grant from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and the Doris Duke Foundation, we became a part of a cohort of 14 groups from around the US and Puerto Rico, all working on green space equity and sharing knowledge with each other, coming into community with each other, really, learning from each other as we do this work. Some of us had been focused on green space equity for a while. Others, like CTI, were newer to this space. But for the past 3.5 years, we've been a part of the first national funding initiative in the United States to support power building by community-based organizations to reverse deep-seated park and green space inequities in Black, Latino, and Indigenous communities from across the country. One of the first things our participation in the cohort did for us was connect us with City Parks Alliance in November 2022 through a park study that City Parks Alliance happened to be sponsoring right here in Austin. That tour put us in touch with our city parks folks who we didn't previously know. We didn't know how our park system worked or who was in it. We began to establish relationships with our neighbors at PARD, meeting them in parks across the city. We met them during the tour and began to set up meetings to engage with them, to learn from them, and to have our leaders share their stories. Our leaders educated themselves on our park system and the history of our city that created it. We were already partnering with our school district and had built relationships with our superintendent and trustees. We went into the schools, holding house meetings, which are small group conversations, to find out what students, teachers, parents, and administrators thought about their outdoor spaces here in Austin. And our leaders began to build relationships with these folks in our parks department. They also asked, who else should we be meeting with? At the same time, they continue to gather within community, within our neighborhoods, to share with people how people are feeling about their green spaces. And what kept coming up was that in East and South Austin, the green spaces people most use were their school parks. Austin is a green city and there are a lot of options. However, we were finding that people east of I-35, our major highway running north and south and bisecting East and West Austin, those folks were saying that they couldn't get to the bigger parks. And also, they didn't really feel like those spaces were intended for them anyway. We learned that our Parks Department has a goal of ensuring a green space within a 10-minute walk of every resident. And we really liked that goal. So we began to turn to community and say, is this real for you? Do you see this? And what we often heard was, yeah, but what do you mean by green space? What do you mean by park? Because I go here, I go to this place. That could be the park around the elementary school or this little green area that I take walks around. And it turns out that's a park, but I didn't know it was a park. So what those spaces looked like in East and South Austin were different than in the West. And so then we had to talk about those differences. We had over 100 house meetings. We began to do research actions, getting on the park department website to learn more about its systems, contacting journalists and authors who had written and reported on our city's land use. We met with public officials. Now, we had done that before regularly on other issues, but never on the topic of green spaces. We were already having discussions with our mayor, our city council members, our county commissioners, our state reps, and our senators on other issues. But then we made the decision to add green spaces to all of our conversations, to add it to the calendar in every conversation we had in with any elected or appointed official. And we treated it the way that we treat all efforts that we embark upon. We learn as much as we can from as many people as we can. And this is when we began to lean
Are we stuck?
This seems to be stuck for me. I was wondering if I was the only one.
Okay. Yeah, I see some have dropped off too. So I think it's they're having some difficulties
Yeah,
there.
there might be a power
Lorinda.
outage.
Okay. Yeah, she probably it's our Austin people here.
Yeah, right before she started, the rain had just hit her area. I'm in Maynard, Texas, and it was I guess it was traveling. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'm letting a couple back in, but I don't see her. All right. No worries. Okay, we'll give her a minute or so. And how is everyone else? Where are you all from?
I'm in South Austin. It's rainy, but we still seem to have power.
Same here. I just reached out to her on the phone to
Okay,
see
thank
what was
you.
going on. She lives a little further south, so
Okay.
not sure. I still have power too. She said that her power went out, but it's coming up again and she's going to reconnect.
Okay, that sounds good. There she is. Welcome back.
Not sure how many of you guys got kicked off with me, if any, but the weather it's storming here and the power just got knocked out and it came right back on. So we will hope for stability, and I'll
That's
pick up where I left off. Give me just a moment. I'm going to try to share again.
sounds good. And you weren't the only one.
Oh, is everybody well? I hope everybody's okay. Everybody's okay?
Yeah,
Yes, we're
everybody's
okay.
back. So
Good,
thanks.
good,
Yeah,
good.
we're good.
Okay, I am going to go back to presenting, and let me try to share my screen again. Okay. So it's asking me to send the request to be a co-host and share
Oh,
again.
yeah.
No worries.
You are good.
Okay.
Should work now.
All right. Now I'm gonna pick this right back up again. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
See a survey question? Okay. So as I said, we conducted surveys to determine whether the anecdotal community surveys within the community to determine whether the anecdotal information we've been hearing could be quantified. And what that did was sort of reinforce our understanding that people on the east and south sides, who, when we broke the numbers down, were clear that they value these spaces and they would use them more often if they were easier to access, particularly their school parks. So we created mapping to look at where our parks were, including our school parks, including several joint use sites that were shared by the schools and community. And we began to sharpen our message around what community defined as park equity. We worked with the Prevention Institute consultant Berkeley Media Studies Group on the creation of a yellow book, a reference and messaging guide for green space advocacy. I've included the QR code if you would like to, if you'd like to put your phone to it, if your phone's working, to see what that looks like. We also developed one-pagers and flyers to distribute both within community and with the policy and decision makers that we came into contact with. And we began to hone in on the language in order to create a narrative around what we were learning, which is this. Our city's park system was created through the development of a 1928 master plan, which pushed our Black and Latino residents who had been living in all of areas of the city into one area in East Austin, thereby avoiding creating multiple parks and utility systems in the city to satisfy separate but equal statutes. We also learned that there was no power and representation in Austin's communities of color on city council. And this was by design through a gentleman's agreement that was in place for over 50 years and was only recently abandoned. This agreement determined who would and would not serve on the council and who would and would not hold power. This affected housing and green spaces where people live, worked, and played, where they had their recreational activities. And we began to teach this history within our institutions and our communities. And also, we shared our perspectives on how the city has changed and where we're finding partners, how we can create policy that is more equitable, how we've been learning that, where those partners are. And it's been a pretty rich experience. We've been looking at joint use agreements for schools and other sites and began to build power around how to ensure that those agreements continued and potentially explore expansion with our school district, the possibility of more sites. Our leaders began to leverage the power they had built within community in order to get in front of decision makers to talk about policy and how community can be involved in creating and changing it. This resulted in the adoption of our open spaces. That is Central Texas Interfaith's green space agenda. In listening to community, the communities in which they're a part, CTI's leaders adopted an agenda of issues around green spaces that spoke to what is important, what people said was important and worth working toward. Those include increasing access to our green spaces, ensuring safety while people are there, promoting physical and mental wellness as our neighbors attempt to reclaim their lives post-pandemic, and centering decision-making within the communities affected by those decisions. So over the past year or so, we have shifted, I'll put that back. Over the past year or so, we've shifted our focus toward how to use this agenda to affect policy. And we learned that currently 62% of undeveloped parkland in the city, which is land purchased for or by PARD, is east of I-35. This is land that is intended for park use, but is not yet slated for development, primarily due to the scarcity of funds and to the prioritization process. The large percentage of these sites in East and South Austin reflect the city's historic issues of inequity in planning this area, regarding the master plan. These sites present an opportunity for community to demand partnership at what we call phase 0, which means allowing residents to adopt these sites and provide input on how they will be developed prior to city planning. It also allows for advocacy on infrastructure and funding so that residents in East and South Austin are not left out of the discussions on how these sites are prioritized for development. CTI leaders have been working with partners at Austin Parks and Recreation Department and the City of Austin in using pilot projects to advance policy advocacy on bringing community into park activation of undeveloped and underdeveloped land. So I'm just going to spend the balance of my time here describing 4 projects that our leaders are spearheading that began in community and are geared toward meeting specific green space needs within those communities. I think I skipped ahead here and you saw that the first one is College Row. And Liz, if you're still on, you know College Row as well.
I'm here, I'm listening.
There you go. So CTI student leaders at Houston-Tillotson University, which is Austin's historically Black university right in East Austin, held house meetings on campus on the subject of Black men's mental health. This is because the students had really been struggling with mental wellness during the pandemic and post-pandemic coming back onto campus. And so in those house meetings, those small group conversations, we listened over and over again to young men talking about how much they love their school in East Austin and how safe they felt on campus within the quad, but that as soon as they stepped outside the gates of the campus and hit the sidewalk on Chacon Street in front of the university, they could immediately tell that they were being seen as threats to the people around them. People who didn't know anything about them except what they could see on the surface. And they talked about how they yearned for a space outside where they could just sit under a tree, do their calculus homework, or maybe just do nothing at all and be comfortable in their own skin without someone treating them as a potential criminal to be afraid of. This is something that we were all very affected by. I'm the mother of 2 sons. I understood it immediately. We spoke to folks at PARD who were also affected by it and understood it immediately. And we began to talk about what it might look like to do something about that, to have a space where people could be out in nature and not in danger, particularly young people of color. And there happens to be a small parcel of land across the street from Houston-Tillotson that appeared to be vacant. Our leaders inquired and learned that it was actually owned by the city, by the Parks Department, and that it had been purchased from the Means family, a prominent African-American family with ties to Houston-Tillotson, had been purchased some years before. And again, in terms of prioritization, it was a park, but nothing had been done with it yet. So our leaders approached PARD, and PARD responded positively to the idea of students putting together a group to activate that space for use. In May of 2024, Central Texas Interfaith and PARD partnered on a grant proposal offered by landscape architectural firm Design Workshop, focused on providing technical assistance on community-driven projects in the initial phases of development. And when the grant was awarded, students pulled people into the park to talk to the Parks Department and Design Workshop about what they wanted to see in this space. These would be people from the neighborhood, people who lived around the park, people who had businesses around the park. There are a couple of churches and schools across from the park and a community health center. So just invited people in to talk about, what do you want to see here? They worked with Austin Parks Foundation, thank you, Liz, to host 2 well-attended It's My Park Day events in fall 2024 and spring 2025. And their work resulted in the creation of a park activation toolkit that provides a reference for community members who want to activate PARD-owned spaces ahead of funding. Design Workshop Foundation is now working with 10 architectural students of color from around the country this summer to provide programming options to PARD that they may want to look at when they are ready to develop. Houston Tillotson professors are creating curriculum around student experiential learning focused on this plot of land during this coming school year. And they're going to be reaching out to the neighborhood, to the residents around College Row, to involve the community in activation and future programming. They're also going to be working on how to provide funding to help PARD when it is ready to add programming. But they are activating the park right now. The students have also reached out to their city council member, Natasha Harper Madison. She came out, looked at it, agreed to work with the university president in supporting that park activation. They also reached out to the police department because they wanted the police department to know, hey, there are going to be people here now. They're going to be out there. They're going to be playing music. What will it look like for the neighborhood? You know, if people see that, they wanted to get ahead of it to make sure that there weren't any problems with neighbors. And that's the kind of thing that they are doing proactively so that people who come there, whether they're from the school or from, you know, across the street in a home across the street or from the church, they feel comfortable in that space. So they've activated that space, and we continue to work with them to see more about what that could look like. This is them during their sessions working on it. You can see the homes across the street. These are bungalows, and if you know East Austin and College Row in particular, this site used to be primarily African American and Latino. It is now all of the homes across the street and around the park are now owned by white neighbors who are younger, who've come in and expect to be there for 30 years, expect to raise their families for 30 years. So they're not going anywhere. And Houston Tillotson has been around for 150 years. It's not going anywhere. So the work of the student leaders is going to be how to bring these groups together with the understanding that this park is for all of them. You know, for the folks who've been there for a long time, for the folks who are here and intend to be here for a long time, and what will it look like in terms of programming in a space that belongs to all of them. So we're really excited about this work. We're very happy with the support that the Parks Department has provided. We're keeping city council members on board and, you know, making sure that they know what's happening so that when it's ready for funding, that we can seek partners for that as well. The next site is Tillery Field, also in East Austin, although a little bit further to the east. And this is a site that's been around. Sorry about that. There we go. Can you see did I lose you? Can you still see my screen?
Yes, but it's not, and there we go. It's back to presenter mode.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. So Tillery Field, this is behind a library in East Austin off of Airport, and it has been around a long time. It's also sort of on the edge of a detention field, so it's actually managed by City of Austin Watershed Protection. For the last 30 years or so, it has also, with the permission of the city, been used by East Austin Soccer Club, which is a soccer club run by the gentleman number 29, Mr. Guzman, Coach Guzman, who for 30 years has run this club for primarily the children of immigrants who live in East Austin and in South Austin. He maintains the fields, he mows it, he has put up makeshift barriers and soccer goals, and the city has agreed to that. But it is not, in terms of a soccer field, it's not ideal. It doesn't have irrigation. It doesn't have lighting. It's low on signage. It doesn't have any fencing. It doesn't have any protection. What we found was that Houston Tillotson, the HBCU that I spoke about earlier, has an excellent soccer team. They have a soccer team made of Americans and then a lot of immigrant students who play on the team. They've made it to the playoffs the last 3 years in a row, but they have no home soccer field. Where they are in East Austin is pretty landlocked. Land is at a premium, and they have no field. They actually host their home games in Round Rock. So we got East Austin Soccer Club and Houston Tillotson University into house meetings together, where the students, the parents, the professors, the coaches told their stories about what it's like to be a team of primarily immigrants who are accustomed to making do, and to be a school that is an HBCU with people of color who are accustomed to making do, and saying to themselves, we want more than making do. We want something better. And so our leaders got together, East Austin Soccer Club and Houston Tillotson got together and wrote a proposal to the city, to Watershed Protection, and Watershed Protection came and looked at it. And they are now in an agreement, the school and the soccer club, where they have applied to the city for funding for the city to provide irrigation and fencing and some other things that will not damage the watershed protection area, but that will allow this space to be used better as a soccer field, as a space where they can share the space. The students wrote the proposal. The city has been open to it. We have been to the site with the city, and in fact, we have invited and have had many city leaders, including the assistant city manager, come to the site themselves to look at what is there, to have an idea about what is possible. And so we've got agreements to consider that and to look at how Houston Tillotson and East Austin Soccer Club can share the maintenance of it, so that the city will provide some initial infrastructure and that these two groups will share maintenance of it. Primarily Houston Tillotson going ahead and providing that structural support, and East Austin Soccer Club providing the day-to-day support. And we're excited about this one because we think it's really important for communities of color, institutions of color, to be supportive of each other. We have also asked our institutions within East Austin and around the city to support this effort, so that there are allies in City Hall and in our City of Austin Public Works Department. So excited about that, and and we're looking forward to what that can look like. And then the final two are in their earlier stages, so don't have as many pretty graphics or photos on them, but still very excited about this. So we were learning in our work with Austin Independent School District through a memorandum of understanding where we were conducting house meetings at and around Mendez Middle School in Southeast Austin. That the students and parents there would really were really wanting a soccer field that they could play on, that they could establish teams on. And the city is responding. They are working on a plan to bring more soccer fields specifically to that area. However, those plans are about 5 to 8 years out. And so the leaders in Southeast Austin, CTI leaders and other leaders in Southeast Austin, had been in talks with El Buen Samaritano, which provides really wonderful health services and family services in South Austin and Southeast Austin. They happen to have on their site about they've got actually multiple acres, about 10 acres, and they are they're agreeing to allow that site to be used as a soccer field, as actually 3 soccer fields, but they are looking for partners to help them maintain it. So they have the land, and they are willing to offer that land for use of soccer field to students coming from Southeast Austin and in South Austin. But we are working with them to find partners. We recently had a really great conversation with Councilmember Vanessa Fuentes, who offered her support for this, and also with 4ATX, the foundation arm of Austin's professional soccer team, that's also excited to offer support to make this a temporary, perhaps full, forever permanent soccer field for students in South Austin and Southeast Austin. So we're in the early stages of those talks. We basically just sort of begin to secure commitments from our council members and from potential partners on what that might look like. We're going to be doing more with community to find out where community will be coming from and how much they will offer. But El Buen services about 7,000 people in South and Southeast Austin. So we're very, very excited about that as well. And then finally, St. John's Episcopal Church in North Austin. St. John's is a longtime Central Texas Interfaith institutional member, and it is on the corner of Westbreaker Lane and Parkfield. It's actually not very far at all from the Austin FC Stadium, just a few blocks east of it. And while there are parks in the vicinity across 35, this is considered a park desert. And people were coming to the church because the church has a lot of land around it, about 3 or 4 acres, that they're using primarily. There's a small spot that they're using as a garden, as a community garden, and it has been thriving for several years. But there is space next to the church that could be used for a potential park. And the Parks Department, the city and the Parks Department have been working with the church to determine whether or not this is something that they might do together. The church has agreed. The Parks Department has made an offer, and the church is very interested in becoming a community hub. So not just using it as a park, but perhaps redesigning and redeveloping its parish hall for use to the entire community. This church used to be a polling site. It is currently a place where lots of groups meet now. Al-Anon meets. El Buen from the south that I just talked about actually operates their food pantry in the north from this church. And the county clerk's office would like to expand its use as a polling station, but the church's parish hall flooded 3 years ago and has rendered it inoperable for general use. So the church and the Parks Department are talking about what it might look like to partner to use that space as a park, and to use the parish hall again as a hub, to renovate that as a hub. The church has met with council members Vela and Siegel, who, the church is in Vela's district and borders Siegel's district, has secured their support. Both of the council members have agreed to speak with PARD's director, and the church is in discussions with Austin Parks Foundation to see if they can secure additional funding to make this happen. The church is holding a large Central Texas Interfaith action in August to talk with community and bring those groups together, all the groups who have used it in the past and would like to use it again, to talk about what it would look like if this once again became a place that community saw as a hub for use, for outdoor recreational use, and of course for indoor use as needed. So those are the things that we're very excited about. And all of those examples are examples of instances where the community saw a need and went to the city and or the Parks Department, and the Parks Department and city have agreed to partner. We're really excited about that because we see that as flipping the script on and the narrative on what we had seen in the past, which is the city and the Parks Department saying, here's this thing that we want to do for you, and being very well-meaning about it, but bringing community in for the buy-in at perhaps stage 3, stage 4, stage 5. We would like to see phase 0 community engagement, where community says, this is what we'd like to see, this is what we'd like to have, and the Parks Department and the city says, let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can make this work. We recognize that it will not work in every instance, but we are moving toward a policy that seeks this, and that's very exciting for us. And that is the work that we see going forward in our community green space efforts well into the future. So that's what I have for you, and I am happy to talk.
Oops. Thank you for the lovely presentation. And it is so exciting to have community come forward and to have that voice, which is what you set out to do. Good. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. Sorry, I was trying to finish lunch, multitasking again, and I just realized I'm not good at it. So see, I cut my camera off. So first, I just wanted to thank you so much for being here today and providing this information. I guess some people say I'm a unicorn because I live in Austin, Texas, but not very many people that that grew up here, actually live here. So I did a full circle and came back to live in Austin, Texas after about 23 years working for the federal government. And so I would just I want to see how I can help, and support any efforts. I have a background in wildlife management. Wildlife biology is my degree. And so I really loved what you're saying about the collaborations with the parks. Or Austin PARD, I think that's what they call, and just, any support, because Austin is great. I love all the culture that it has, and it thrives in that. But I love to see solution-based topics and discussions so that we can continue to introduce and embrace those that are coming here but also
Yes.
not losing that rich culture and history that's so very important. So I just wanted to say thank you, and to say that myself, just appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you, Sharon, and we would definitely love to talk to you. As I said, our leaders, we are expert in community. We recognize that we are not experts in green space, and we are relying on people like you to teach us and fill in those knowledge gaps. So if you're available, we would love to speak with you and anyone that you think we should be talking to. One of the things that is really important to our leaders is that when they do spend time with our mayor, with our superintendent, with our council members, with our Congress representatives, and we spend a lot of time at the state capitol, they want to be armed with information, and they want to know what they're talking about. We do not put people in front of elected and appointed officials without making sure that they have a thorough understanding of issues and what they're talking about. So we are always looking to lean on experts. So I will reach out. And I see
Sounds good.
someone
Thank
asking
you.
for the link, so I'll send you our website. Thank you.
Thank you. I did put an evaluation link in the chat box if you would take a moment just to fill that out as well. And as we're talking here. So any other questions for Warinda?
Hi, my name is Michelle. I don't have a question. I just have a comment. I just think it's wonderful that you got these people together talking and working on solutions. I'm just very impressed. You've gotten so many things accomplished, and I just love that. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. We really believe in our leaders. We really, as an organizer, and I will just share, before I became an organizer with Central Texas Interfaith, I was a leader for over a decade. I really believe in this, and the work became so important to me, in fact, that I left my job in the corporate world. I liked my job. It was not that, but I love this work, and so we are all about empowering people to make the change that they want to see. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'm going to go ahead and put our website and my own information into the link, into the chat, and would love to hear from you and to collaborate.
Hey, Lorinda. Elizabeth Harper from EcoRise. I super enjoyed hearing about the project at HT and the project with the East Austin Soccer Club. And I guess one question I have is if groups of individuals want to get involved, what's the pathway that you recommend for them, especially when it comes to modifying their public spaces?
Yeah. Hi, Elizabeth. Give us a call. We would love to talk to you. As I said, we've been working with PARD on activating sites that they're owned by the city, but nothing's been done with them yet. Just because PARD has done a really good job of acquiring land, and it takes time to then activate that land. And so we have been working with them on identifying sites. And we're always open to working with new groups of people who want to activate those and claim those for public use.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Darian. I see I'm so tired. See your chat, and it's good to see you. And thank you for all the work that you do with the school district. We began this work actually with the school district as a partner. The school district supported us when we made that very first grant proposal to the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and we have found a willing partner in the district, and we're really looking forward to what else we can do with them. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's great. I really appreciated learning more about your project, and we're here to help. Thank you.
Hi, Warinda. It's Yasmin. I just wanted to bring just wanted to say one thing that I think is so beautiful from your presentation and like from the group that's here. That, from 2022, when you started engaging, you have built relationships and partnerships with folks on this call to advance this work, and with a school district and coming as a city staff. It shows what that relationship building and then solutions focus can really do when we all work together. So
I
thank you.
agree. Thank you. Yasmin has been a really great partner in green schoolyards. And as I mentioned, a lot of our folks, that is their park. The school park is the park that they go to. And what we found is that people feel like that's their space. Not everybody can get to Zilker. They love Zilker, but they can't all get there. The other thing that we have just found, and I'm sure you guys know this instinctively, is that these relationships take time. We didn't know each other, and in a lot of ways we're still getting to know each other, but what we have made the commitment to do is stay in the relationship. That means that there are times when we don't see eye to eye, and we're all clear about that, but that doesn't mean that we walk away from each other. And for community, what that means for community, given the last 100 years from the 1928 plan, is seeing how the city has made adjustments and working with the city so that 2028 doesn't seem like a reflection of 1928. And we know we're not there, but we are working on levels of trust to get there. And so it's very, very important to stay in those relationships. Thank you, Yasmin.
Well said, Warinda. Thank you for saying that so eloquently.
Good to see you, Liz.
Yeah, me too.
Liz helped us with our first It's My Park Day at College Row. And let me just say, since we have just a couple minutes, that was an interesting it was tough because it was the Saturday after Election Day. And this is on right across the street from the campus of an HBCU, where I had been with the students on election night and been with the students the next day watching concession speech. And it was really it was wonderful to see the number of people who came out to that site to talk about how we can make this a great space and what local work looks like. Liz was a part of that, was really helpful in the logistics of that, and it made a difficult week a little better. So thank you.
And I know everyone has said this on this call too, but thank you for your work, Warinda.
Absolutely.
I did a fraction of what you do.
This has been meaningful work. Like I said, I loved my job. I was I was a fraud investigator, so there was never a dull moment in my life. But this is meaningful work, and it's wonderful to be in a community that values that work.
Mm-hmm. What has been the most successful part of it in building that relationships? What has been the most impactful? Because I'm working with some other cities that are just starting.
So concretely, the projects are impactful because we hope to affect policy, but in general, two things. it is really important to continue to build power. So it's important, you know, that we have a relationship with our city. We were just last week we were meeting with the city assistant city manager. The week before we'd met with the city manager. We do more obviously than than green spaces, but green spaces is a great way to enter other conversations. And we have found that to be successful. But truly, the most successful part of it is developing these leaders so that it is absolutely okay for them to sit with the mayor and feel comfortable that they know what they're talking about, and that they are ready to negotiate for the things that they want. When you work with people who initially feel like there's nothing they can do about the situation that they live in, and help them begin to understand that that is absolutely not true. It's just a real joy to sit there, because the organizer trains, the organizer develops and does a lot of stuff behind the scenes. But when it comes to, negotiating and dealing, that's the leaders. It is their organization. And to see people who felt like they couldn't do that, know that they can, is a real joy. It's a success.
Yeah, and so empowering. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all for being here. And we'll give you a couple minutes of your day.
Thanks,
so
everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.